Hey guys, it's Mawile HD here, and today we're going way back to cover glitches from Pokemon Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald. The Generation 3 Classics has some of the most unique and diverse glitches I've seen out of a Pokemon game. Duplicating Pokemon, walking on water, surfing on land, whatever is going on here, catching trainer Pokemon, getting an NPC to drag you out of bounds, and a whole lot more. Some of these glitches get so out of hand it looks like I'm hacking, but I can assure you that all of these are possible within their respective games. I say that because there are some specifically only for Emerald or Ruby and Sapphire, including one that's only possible in Ruby, funny enough. So I'll try to mention which those are, but I'd also recommend checking the description for more clarification. But anyway, let's get into these Gen 3 games. Getting out of bounds in a Pokemon game is often a tricky feat, especially in the 2D ones because you have very restricted movement. Well, in these games, an NPC can literally drag you out. Very early on in the game, you have to travel through Oldale Town for the first time to catch up with your rival on Route 103. At the bottom of the town is this PokeMart worker, who if you talk to her, will bring you up and show you where the PokeMart is, but also give you one potion. The thing is, this interaction is entirely optional. If you've played a Pokemon game before and know what a PokeMart is, or just don't like talking to random NPCs, there's a decent chance you just ignore the worker entirely. However, if you get to the point where you fill up your entire item section of your bag, you can cause a very weird thing to happen. You just need to have never spoken with this PokeMart worker. Your bag is considered full when you have 20 unique items, or 20 of the max number of the same item, which is 99, meaning you would need 1,980 of something, but anything in between will work. Just make sure one of those 20 items is not a potion, as it would just add to that and not work. So the interaction will start off like normal, they'll walk you up to the PokeMart and try and give you a potion. However, they will say, "Too bad, your bag is full," ending the conversation. We now just need to walk up to Route 103, but only take 1 or 2 steps once the location switches over, then walk back down. We've now reset the worker's dialogue, but didn't respawn her down by the house from before. As a result, if we talk to them now, this will happen. They will drag you through the PokeMart and into this tree, putting us both technically out of bounds. She behaves like she just walked us up to the PokeMart and tries to give you another potion. You may think we're stuck since we can't move left or right, but simply walking down will put us back in bounds. So we're kinda lucky she didn't soft lock us here, because if they took one more step up, we would likely be stuck inside this tree. Once out, you are no longer able to interact with them, but since they still never gave you the potion, they will continue trying. Meaning, if we reset their position by either running far away, or in and out of a building, we can repeat this glitch as many times as we want. This is also the reason you can only take a step or 2 up when on Route 103, or else the same thing will happen where they'll be placed back down by the house. So as long as you keep your bag full, you can always clip out of bounds. Now this isn't something I normally do in glitch videos, but I'm going to use cheat codes to explore this glitch a little more. I wanted to see what would happen if we use a walk through walls code to talk to them again. I repeated the same steps by walking an inch out of town, went back through the wall, and spoke with the worker. Sure enough, the same glitch happened and they started dragging me through the trees and into the grass. I also noticed the Route 103 label was on screen as their text box popped up, and as the label was sliding up off screen, the text box moved with it for a moment, then snapped back down to the bottom. I wish you could cause this to happen without cheat codes, but it's still interesting the game behaves this way, with a text box and a location label moving at the same time. But anyway, I basically turned the worker into a trainer at this point, the way they're just standing in the tall grass like this. But I wanted to trigger it one more time to see what would happen. I walked a step inside Oldale Town and went back up. Sure enough, the glitch triggered again, but this time they didn't want to come with me, and I just did the walk by myself, clipping through everything in my way. So the NPC will walk through buildings and trees, but not this little ledge. Very odd. But also, since they no longer walk up with us, this is really as far as the glitch would go anyway. I just wanted to use a cheat code to see what else could have been possible if they didn't walk that extra tile in the tree, making it impossible to trigger this glitch a second time. But still, it is a very funny glitch and is crazy that we can use an NPC to aid us in clipping out of bounds, just as long as you never spoke to them during your playthrough and have a full bag already. Now it's time for a really good one, maybe even the best glitch in these games, duplicating Pokemon and items. Unfortunately, this is exclusive to Pokemon Emerald as it takes place in the Battle Tower in the Battle Frontier, which is not a thing in Ruby and Sapphire. Anyway, all we need for this is one Pokemon in our party that won't be duplicated, and the ones you want to duplicate sitting in the PC. Once inside the battle tower, head over to the PC and save in front of it. Then you can open the PC. Since we're duplicating the Pokemon, any held items will be duped as well, so give them your Master Balls, rare items, and anything you want really. Now just grab the Pokemon out of the box and put them in your party. Like I said before, it's best if you start off with only one Pokemon in your party. Do not move any Pokemon from your party into the box, as they will be deleted. And due to how duping works, the one Pokemon that started off in your party will not be duplicated. So now that I have a full party of 6, it's time for the next step. Exit the PC and talk to the lady behind the counter on the right side, closest to us and the PC. This is the Link multi-battle room, but it's not really important as we're not actually going to go in. We just have to get through the text and register 2 Pokemon to get to this screen, where they ask if it's okay to save the game. There will be a notable pause here, then the usual save screen will pop up. Do not press anything from this point. Instead, reset your game or turn it off and on again. Doesn't matter, just boot up the game again. It may not seem like it, but we've now successfully duplicated our Pokemon and the items they were holding. For some reason, during this registration, the game saved your party Pokemon and your bag. It didn't save the PC or anything else, meaning the game does not know that you pulled those 5 Pokemon out. So now that they're in your party and the PC, it effectively duplicated them. You can confirm this by loading your save back up and walking to the PC. As you can see, the Pokemon are in the box again and in your party. So congratulations, you now have exact copies of these 5 Pokemon. There are no real limits to this. You can now take the items the second batch was holding and go about the rest of your day. There is one small restraint in that you can't duplicate a whole party of legendaries. 4 is the max at a time. This is because the battle tower doesn't allow you to register legendaries to battle. As you may have saw with my party, Rayquaza and Kyogre said not able. So you will always need to have 2 eligible Pokemon when setting this up. But besides that, the world is your cloister. I duped the same 5 a few times as I wanted more than one Master Ball. This is a fairly safe glitch to do, but just to really drive this point home, do not deposit Pokemon from your party into the box while setting this up. Basically from the point that you save in front of your PC. Like I said, the registration process saves your party but not the PC. So this would cause the game to basically delete the Pokemon if you did this. But other than that, enjoy your newfound riches, rare items, and Pokemon. It does kind of suck you have to have beaten the Elite Four to get to the Battle Frontier, but consider it a nice reward for beating the game. This would have been a clutch glitch to know when I was younger, so I could just trade Pokemon to my friends without actually losing ones I cared about. Let's completely flip-flop and perform a glitch that absolutely sucks for the player, and is only possible in Ruby and Sapphire, losing out on thousands of dollars. The bottom line for this glitch is to never sell more than 255 of an item at one time, or else the PokeMart will scam you. As you can see here, I tried selling the max of 999 berries, which would be worth 9,990 Pokedollars, and the Mart employee even says this. So why is there only 2,310 in my account now? Well, due to the way the game's programmed, every 256 of an item is counted as 0. As you can see here, I sell 256 and get nothing in return. If I sell 255, it's perfectly fine. But if I were to sell 257, I would only get $10, as it carries over in groups of 256. So the reason I only got $2,310 for the 999 berries was because the first 768 were ignored, as 768 is 256 times 3, leaving me with 231 berries that actually counted, which equals 2,310. This is a very unfortunate glitch, but luckily it can really only occur with berries by normal means, as they max out at 999, but it's only 99 of all other items. So like I said, only sell a max of 255 berries at a time, unless you want the PokeMart to scam you out of your money. Alright, it's time to get some of that money back with another money-related glitch. This one's a positive though, we are not getting scammed again. Meowth has a signature move called Payday that throws coins at the Pokemon, but get collected after the battle. In Gen 3, the amount of coins is your Pokemon's level times 5, so with my level 50 Meowth, it should give you 250 coins. However, they're also holding an Amulet coin, which is supposed to double the amount of money you earn in battle. So in theory, we should get 500 Pokedollars from Payday. Following the battle, the game only says I got 250 coins though. Luckily, this is just a visual bug, and as you can see, I ended up getting the 500 I was supposed to. Since Payday is an exclusive move, it may have not been programmed to display the change with the Amulet coin, or it just ends up getting calculated after this text appears. Either way, this glitch works out for the best, and you actually get more money than it says. Nice. This one isn't very exciting, but I guess it's also the easiest way to get out of bounds in a Pokemon game. In the east side of Sootopolis City, where the Pokemon Center is, travel up until you find the topmost staircase below this house. On the surface, it just seems like another set of stairs. However, stand on the first step and walk left. If your eyes were closed, you'll notice that you didn't hear the bonk sound effect, and if you open them, you'll notice that you're now standing inside of the rock wall. For some reason, this singular tile does not have normal collision, and you can just stand inside of it. Maybe the devs originally planned for something to be here like another path or a house, but it got scrapped later on. Or some poor tester just forgot to check this exact one tile. Regardless, it doesn't really help us do anything besides stand out of bounds on a single tile. This does technically mean since there's one instance of this tile error, there could be more out there that we don't know about. But considering this game has been out for 22 years, geez, I'm getting old, and this is the only reported spot I could find, maybe there isn't. Since we're on the topic of tile errors, here's another interesting one in Dewford town. Come down to the second gym in Hoenn, just below the Pokemon Center, and head inside. Right at the entrance to all the gyms are these statues that say the name and the trainers that have beaten them. While this text box usually only displays when facing in front of one, do me a favor and walk up to the wall behind the right one. For some reason, clicking A on this tile will display the same text as the statues. I have no clue why this happens, and my only guess is like the last one, they plan to have the statues here instead and not make the entrance so cramped. But my counter argument to that is why doesn't the wall behind the left do the same thing? Some big mysteries here to some not so big glitches. Anyway, anytime from now on that I do another playthrough of this game, I will always check this wall out. And you should too. With that being said, the Dewford gym does have one more glitch, but we gotta go outside. I'm gonna walk around the gym for a second here, so try and spot our third tile error yourself. Okay, time's up, I'll just tell you. Dewford town is located on a beach, so a majority of the ground here is sand, meaning you and even the NPCs that walk around will leave behind a trail of footprints. Well, this happens all over town except for the 3 tiles in front of the gym. No matter how much you stomp and even ride your bike, do you know how hard it is to ride a bike in sand? There will never be footprints or tire tracks. There are these 2 tiles to the left of the door and 1 to the right. None of the other buildings do this, but the gym is also the only one that has a door that sticks out 1 extra tile, so maybe the game treats the tiles around that as part of the building also. I got no clue, but yeah, Dewford's town gym has not 1, but 2 strange tile errors. Moving on to technically another tile glitch, but this time we can stand on a boulder, so that's cool. This takes place in Sky Pillar on Route 131. So head through the cave and into this glorious looking tower. Just off to the left side is our target, this boulder. Continue onward up the stairs, and we basically just need to get to the other side of this room with the doorway. So use that mock bike to carefully navigate over these loose tiles of land. I was going a little too fast and flung myself into the doorway, but kinda works out as you might need to reset the holes anyway. We need to carefully ride into this corner of safe ground tucked behind these other rocks. If you get to this corner without the hole below being broken, we're in a good spot. Now just step onto this tile and accept your fate as you come crashing down through the floor. As you can see, either the devs didn't realize you could fall onto this tile, or just forgot how the layout below looked. We are now just standing on top of, or inside this boulder. As you may have been able to guess, we aren't actually stuck, but that didn't stop me from spinning around after pulling this off. Once you are done here, you can simply walk to the right or down to free yourself and move on with your life. I'd recommend just trying this when you're in here to catch Rayquaza, but if you really want to go this far out of the way just to pull this off, I am not stopping you. Okay, last tile glitch, and this is probably the coolest out of all of them. On some of the water routes, you'll see these currents that force you to go a certain direction. There's no real way to swim through them, you either have to go around or hang on for the ride. Routes 132, 133, and 134 on the south part of the map have massive sections of currents pointing towards Slateport City. Well, if we carefully ride these currents through Route 133, we can end up on this patch of shallow water, where we can stand in Route 134. It's basically on the border, so you can walk on 133 and 134 at the same time here. Anyway, this tile in the bottom right has a weird instance where the current can push you while you are walking. It just behaves the same way as if you were surfing, but we are walking. Trying to walk directly at it will push you away, and walking down onto it will throw you to the left as well. It also does this one on a bike, funny enough. To my knowledge, this is the only time you can interact with the water while walking and not surfing. It's likely just an error the devs made. Maybe this was supposed to be a water tile and got changed without updating the collision, but who knows. Still, kinda interesting, lets you walk on water for a brief moment as well. Well, how about we actually walk on water? This is something I've always wanted to do as a kid. These games are notorious for having, and I quote, too much water, so it was only right there was a glitch involving it. By just clicking the B button at the right time, we were able to pull this off on Route 128. All we need to set up this glitch is have a Pokemon with dive in a cave under the water. Find a big patch of deep ocean on Route 128 and dive down. Find the entrance to the seafloor cavern here, and as you can see, if we swim into this tile, we hit the load zone. We need to press B so the text box to surface appears as we step into this tile. I tried just standing one tile down and pressing up and B at the same time, but that didn't seem to work. Maybe it is still possible this way, but I found it's a lot easier if you just get a running or swimming start. Just go down a little ways, then hold up and mash B as soon as you get to the entrance. If you get the text box to appear while on this tile, you have pulled it off. All we need to do now is say yes and surface. Since the game doesn't expect anyone to be able to surface on this specific tile, there is a rock placed in the water, which is just what we needed to no longer be surfing and placed back on our feet. Free to run around the ocean. You aren't restricted too much, you can simply run anywhere you could have surfed to, but this does mean the land is blocked off while in this state, as well as the little patches of shallow water. You can still encounter Pokemon just like you would surfing, as well as get into battles with swimmers, who are probably shook that you are just standing on top where they're forced to repeatedly swim and tread water for days on end. Weirdly enough, you cannot fish while standing out in the ocean. I thought maybe I could if I was standing near land, but it just blocks you every time. So yeah, I just ran around all the connecting routes and even got to Moss Deep City. Once you've had your fun, you can either fly or teleport out, or you can just dive back down below the water and resurface like normal. But what if we could do this whole thing in reverse? So I normally only cover English game glitches, but this one in Japanese was too good to pass up, so I'll show this one and this one only. All we need for this is a Pokemon that can use Surf, the Acro Bike, and surfable water either above or below us. It cannot be to our left or right. Stand one tile away from the water, hop on your Acro Bike, and we need to then side hop towards the water. So in my case, face either left or right, then tap B and up at the same time. As you're hopping, you need to start mashing A. If you land and nothing happened, go one tile away and try again. If you press A at just the right time, you can bring up the text box asking if you want to surf. Saying yes here will cause your character to start the surf sequence while facing away from the water, meaning we get placed in surf mode while on land. Whoa, this looks really cool and behaves about as good as you could hope for. Anywhere you could have walked to, you can now surf to, meaning we can explore routes and towns around us. You will stay in surf mode while in cutscenes, this NPC gotta think I'm crazy, through battles, and just about anywhere you can go. I will warn you though, as soon as you enter a load zone, you'll be placed back on your feet. But yeah, just from exploring this first time, I noticed the big blob of the Pokemon you are on will clip through some of the other textures like trees, and the animation of you hopping down a ledge does not really do anything. But like I said before, this can be done anywhere you have surfable water either above or below you. It's fairly easy to get this within like 5 to 10 attempts. You just gotta be either mashing that A button during the side hop, or just that baller where you can press it once at the exact right 30th of a second. This time I did it near some stairs, bridges, and tall grass, which were all no match for my surfing. The tall grass tile does look really messed up when you're inside of it though. Tree City, one of my favorites, looks super cool too. Going up and down the ladders and across the bridges at a faster pace than walking was so satisfying and buggy. Spent a lot of time just messing around with this as it's so fun to do. And with how much water is in this game, you're bound to find a spot to perform this in just about any location. 2 glitches in one. I was hoping you'd be able to use this in reverse to cancel the surf by standing near water and pressing A again, but sadly we can't walk on water using this method. You'll have to do the one we just talked about before. So if you own a Japanese copy, or an emulator, you can do this crazy looking glitch. I kinda like this one better than walking on water as there are hundreds of spots to do this and gives you way more freedom and funny moments. Alright, it's time for something truly crazy, catching a trainer's Pokemon. This is one of the more unique glitches this game has to offer, not only in terms of the outcome, but the setup as well. You have to be at a pretty specific spot in the game. You have to have beaten the Elite Four, but not caught Latios or Latias yet. They must be currently roaming in the world, as they are vital to this glitch. So if you're at this point, we're ready for step 2, finding a trainer with at least 2 Pokemon to steal from. I don't want to spoil too much yet, but I'd recommend finding a strong trainer as we don't really want to steal a level 5 Zigzagoon from a trainer on Route 103. I'd recommend going to the Battle Tower as we can just enter into a level 100 challenge and steal a fully maxed out Pokemon right away. So step 3 is losing the battle with the trainer. This should be easy as this trainer is going to have level 100s no matter what. So either enter 3 super low level Pokemon or just find a way to purposely lose. Again, you can do this with any trainer, but they need to have 2 or more Pokemon and you'll see why in a bit. It ended up taking a weirdly long amount of time for this level 100 Rhydon to take down my insane team of a level 3 Wingull, a level 9 Magikarp, and a level 5 Zangoose. I somehow ended up getting them into the yellow, and the trainer even had to switch out to another Pokemon. Also, keep a mental note of this Crawdon, as they'll be making an appearance later. But I did finally end up losing, which might be confusing as we didn't catch any Pokemon, but we'll get there. After losing this battle, we immediately need to go find Latios or Latias depending on the game. And I'm in Ruby right now, so Latios it is. This is probably the most painful step as Latios is a roaming Pokemon, and every time we change locations on routes or towns, they will move to a different spot. So I just hung around Mawile City, going in and out of routes for a good 15 minutes until it finally landed on the route I was on. Once that headache is out of the way, we now have another difficult task of encountering them on the first try. If we run into a normal Pokemon, we have to start all over. I think there are ways to increase your chances by using repels in lower level Pokemon, but I just raw dogged it and ran into Latios on my first try anyway. The next step, and the third headache, is knocking out the Latios before it runs away, which it likes to do after the very first turn. So either get a Pokemon with the ability to trap it, or just have a high level Pokemon as your lead. If you successfully knock it out, the setup is complete, and you'll immediately see the results of our efforts. Out of nowhere, Pokeballs appear on the screen like we were in a trainer battle, and out comes the Crawdon we lost to earlier. So yeah, as weird as it looks, this is the real glitch. Killing the Latios right after losing a trainer battle somehow morphs the two states together, and we're now fighting the final two of the trainer's Pokemon. This is also why the trainer we lost to needs to have more than one Pokemon. As we can see, it counts Latios as one of their 3. From this point, we are free to catch these Pokemon, which sadly can also be kind of tough as they behave like Latios and will flee the moment they get a chance to. I had a few Master Balls from duping earlier, so I just threw it at it and walked away with the trainer's Pokemon. Since it was level 100 earlier, it's level 100 now, and we can see all the stats and held item. It also says we met them at the battle tower, funny enough, so it's just cool to own a Pokemon that an NPC had. But I was also curious what else would happen in this glitch state, so I knocked out their Crawdon and they threw out their last Pokemon, Dodrio. Even though I didn't get a chance to fight them earlier, this was the trainer's third Pokemon, so I caught that one this time instead. So this poor trainer only has his Rhydon left. Sorry, buddy. But yeah, this glitch is just so random but cool that I had to show it off. The setup is very specific and painful at times, but I think it's still worth being able to do this. Even just seeing the trainer HUD after knocking out the roaming Latias was weird enough. So enjoy your stolen Pokemon. Okay, it's time for a fairly funny glitch that you may have encountered during a playthrough. Like most Pokemon games, if you go within a trainer's line of sight, it will stop and they'll walk over to you. Well, there are a few spots throughout the game where a battle is triggered and the trainer ignores whatever is in their way to walk to you, such as walls, ledges, or fences. Our first stop is Route 118, east of Mawile City. This is Aroma Lady Rose. She spins in circles waiting for someone to cross her path. Well, if we stand to her left on this ledge, she will spot us and ignore the ledge here completely. Even though she is barely standing on the upper ground, she is still eager to battle. Once you defeat her, she will still be standing here, which also allows me to just phase right through her and hop down the ledge. The game never expects an NPC to be blocking one's path, so it never checks for collision anyway. I had my fun for a few minutes, but it's time for the next spot. On your way through Route 108, you will come across the abandoned ship. Head inside through both sets of doors, and our first battle can be Tuber Charlie running around the opposite side of the wall. Just stand where his running path would be, and this time the trainer goes completely invisible inside of the wall. Now it just looks like I'm about to battle it, and not Tuber Charlie. Defeating him will allow you to talk with the wall, making you look absolutely insane to the other trainers. So once you're done here, we're off to Route 121 for our final example of this. Gentleman Walter can be found in this fence area, but we have to walk carefully past him on this first section in order to trigger the glitch. Go around and pick up the item resting here, then stand where it was. When Walter is facing down, he will still spot you, and practically sit on top of the fence to battle you. This is probably the least exciting, as all you can really do with him is make him rotate by pressing A, but all three of these were funny to experience and has likely happened to some of you just playing the games regularly. Let me know if there are any more places that you can cause this to happen at, as it always looks really strange. One of the crowning achievements in any Pokemon game is completing the Pokedex. In Generation 3, there are 386 unique Pokemon to see and catch. Doing so will reward you with a certificate from this game designer. However, you can still get this without catching them all. For some reason, when the game runs the check on your Pokedex, it ignores Chikorita. As you can see, I've caught every other Pokemon in the game except for 152, which is Chikorita. But when I talk to the game designer, he still behaves like I have all 386 and hands me the certificate. So you can technically complete the game without ever completing it, as it just skips over one of the starters from Gen 2. It just feels super weird to have this gap in the Pokedex that doesn't matter at all. You still need Chikorita's evolutions anyway, just not the base form. There are a few other Pokemon the game ignores during this check: Mew, Celebi, Jirachi, and Deoxys, but those actually make sense. Chikorita's just kind of thrown in there due to a bug in the code. So the minimum Pokemon you have to catch and still have the game consider it complete is 381. Still, I think it's super weird that it behaves this way. This was fixed in Emerald, so this is one less Pokemon you have to catch in Ruby and Sapphire. So this one's a little strange, but definitely something to try out when playing through the game. Pokemon Evolve. Yeah, I know, crazy, right? But sometimes when a Pokemon evolves, you also get the option to learn a special move for that new stage. All the starters have evolution moves like this, as an example. Well, after the cutscene and the game asks you if you want to delete a move, press A and B at the exact same time. This will cause the screen to go black, and if you're on English Ruby and Sapphire, you will see this red selection outline appear on the screen. For every other version of the game and Emerald, it will just be a black screen. However, we can still hear the music and moving the selection up and down. We are now technically on the Stop Learning Blaze Kick screen, which normally has that red selection box for yes or no. If you say yes here, the red will go away, and we now have to press A or B to fully close out of the learning move sequence, pretty much just ending the glitch. If you instead say no, it will reset the dialogue, and after pressing A a few times, will bring up the delete a move question. Saying yes here will restore the graphics and bring you to the move screen. So yeah, just a little visual bug that can easily be triggered and easily corrected. It's also okay if you mistime the buttons, because you can just say no on the Stop Learning screen, and this dialogue will loop back around, giving you another chance. So on your next playthrough, try this one out, as it's eerie to hear the music and text boxes with a black screen. Kind of like we mentioned before, the Pokedex is supposed to be the Pokemon encyclopedia, filled with concrete definitions and information. However, there is in fact a typo in it, not looking so concrete now. In the original release of Ruby, the English Pokedex entry for Mawile reads, "Mawile's huge jaws are actually steel horns that have transformed." You may not have caught it, but the Pokemon's name is spelled wrong, adding that extra H like you would spell Wile. This just looks funny, as the Pokemon's name can be seen spelled correctly at the top of the same screen, so it was just a typo that slipped past the devs, and honestly, I don't blame them. It looks pretty natural to spell Mawile with an H in there. However, it's still interesting that this does not show up in the original release of Sapphire. Pokemon entries are different in different games, and was spelled perfect here. They did fix this in a later release of Ruby that patched a few other glitches, so this was only limited to the OG Ruby version. Alright, now for a crazy battle glitch. As you should really know, when a Pokemon takes damage, their HP bar will decrease, as in, go down gradually. However, if you do too much damage, the Pokemon's HP doesn't even go down. It will just faint on the spot. Well, this quote-unquote too much value is 33,000. An easy way to reach this amount of damage is with Kyogre. He already has a crazy high special attack stat, but by boosting it with Calm Mind 6 times, while in the rain that he sets up automatically with his ability Drizzle, level 100, and using 150 base power Water Spout, you can go way past 33k, going as high as 42k according to a damage calc. This causes the Pokemon to just immediately do its cry and fall over. The damage is just too high to the point where the game says, there is no way you live that, and just knocks it out without the HP bar ever moving. Quite a funny scenario to see, and can be done anytime as long as that move does over 33,000 damage. Now for another battle glitch. Focus Punch is a move that has insanely high priority of +8, but it also has two phases. Charging, which happens at the start of a turn, and actually attacking, which has a priority of -3, meaning it will usually go at the very end. Well, it seems as though the +8 is higher than switching out Pokemon. In a doubles battle, have the first Pokemon use Focus Punch, select a target, and when on the screen to select your second Pokemon's move, click B to cancel it and go back to the very first Pokemon. Now switch out that Pokemon with another in your party and do any move with the second. As you'll soon notice, the charging animation for Focus Punch happens, then the sequence of switching out the Pokemon starts. My guess is that once you selected Focus Punch, it gets added to some list that determines the turn order, and never got cleared when you chose to cancel and swap instead. So this is the result. Even when I did Focus Punch with my second Pokemon and swapped out the first, it still showed the animation before the switch. But doing this with the same Pokemon is obviously more of a glitch than this. I was hoping for some way to have 2 Focus Punch animations, then swap both out, but you can't really do this as the turn starts right after selecting a target, so I can't cancel and go back like I could with the first Pokemon, which is also why this has to be a doubles battle. Still, a neat visual trick you can do to scare your friends or other trainers. So, this is without a doubt the biggest glitch these games have to offer. It's known as the Pomeg glitch and involves, well, the Pomeg Berry. It's an item that's supposed to increase your Pokemon's friendship, but lower its HP EVs, which sounds pretty normal at first, but can cause problems under the right conditions. Effort values, or EVs, are sort of hidden stat boosts that you get from battling Pokemon. Certain Pokemon give you certain EVs. Wurmple, for example, gives you 1 HP EV each time. While these stat changes are small, by the time you get to level 100, 4 EVs equals 1 stat point. So as you can see here, I have a bunch of HP EVs in this Kyogre, and he's at a total HP of 381. Well, after giving them the Pomeg Berry, the max dropped to 379. Now that we know this, the main setup for the glitch involves getting a Pokemon with HP EVs down to 1 HP, then give them a Pomeg Berry to drop their health to 0 or even below it. Oh, and real quick, I should also mention this is unfortunately exclusive to Emerald, as the Pomeg Berry cannot be used directly in Ruby and Sapphire and only used as an ingredient for Pokeblocks. So now that we know what we're doing, I'm going to walk through the process of setting this up. I have this level 80 Zigzagoon loaded up on HP EVs, so now I just need to get it to exactly 1 HP. This sounded kind of hard to do, as just going into battles and hoping the Pokemon would do the perfect amount of damage did not sound fun. But then I just remembered Poison can allow me to control the HP myself, so I just found a Wurmple quick and waited for it to Poison Sting me. Now in the overworld, the screen will jitter every few steps I take, which signifies my Zigzagoon losing 1 health each time. So I just ran back and forth to get it all the way down to 1. Also make sure before going forward that you cure the poison beforehand, or else it will continue to drain the glitched HP and you will white out to the Pokemon Center. So with our Pokemon healthy and on 1 HP, all we gotta do is use the Pomeg Berry. Check your party again, and boom. You will see that they are at 0 HP, meaning in my case, I have no usable Pokemon but are still able to run around. So the obvious question is, what happens if I enter a battle? Honestly, not much. You'll still throw out the Pokemon showing 0 HP, but as soon as you click an attack, it will start the whole "you are out of usable Pokemon" and white out. Not only can you get 0 HP, but you can actually go below that. When I did it on this level 80 Zigzagoon, I only lost 1 HP point, but on a level 100 Zigzagoon, I lose 2 points, which would put me at -1, which gets shown as $35. This is a little more interesting in battle, as it shows I have a question mark amount of HP left, and the bar starts in yellow, weirdly enough. You're able to attack, however, if you get hit, this happens. Your health drops to 0, resets back to a full bar, and will now just continuously loop with the digits flickering and the bar occasionally dropping to 0, then resetting. Congratulations, we are now soft locked as far as I can tell, as it never seems to end. I just sat here speeding up the game, simulating around 10 minutes, and nothing ever happened, so I just reset my game. While these effects were alright, there is still an infinite number of possibilities with this setup. This time, we need to have a slightly different setup that's going to cause the game to break in ways you may have never seen before. All we need is the Pokemon we want to use the Pomeg Berry on, so I'll stick with my Zigzagoon, a dead Pokemon with the move Fly, and a perfectly normal third Pokemon. Before you ask, I have absolutely no idea why you need to have these Pokemon in there, but it just works, so I don't know. With these 3, and the 1 HP Pokemon in the first slot, go into a wild battle. Once in one, switch out to the normal one, and then run away. Now go back to the Pokemon Center, go into the PC, and deposit the healthy Pokemon. Now it's just business as usual. Use the Pomeg on the 1 HP Pokemon, and we now need to have it be 0 HP. It cannot be the glitched $35 value. If you got the -1 value, simply use any healing item on it, and it will say HP was restored by 1 point, setting us back to 0. Perfect. Now all we gotta do is get into another wild battle. While it doesn't seem like this was much of a different setup than the one we were doing originally, look who gets thrown out here. Go! Exclamation point with like 10 spaces in the middle, and you'll see that the sprite is the same icon for a missing entry in the Pokedex. This thing is known as Decamark, and according to Bulbapedia, Pokemon index numbers range from 0000 to FFFF, allowing for 65,536 Pokemon to be defined. However, only 439, counting Egg, Unknown Forms, Deoxys Forms, and 25 question marks were defined, filling the remaining 65,097 slots with Decamark variants. So yeah, now we have this very glitched Pokemon, sorta like Missing No. This Pokemon is single-handedly responsible to be able to rewrite the game's coding, which if you don't know what that means or how powerful that can be, we'll get back to that in a second. But what can this do in battle? Well, not really much. If you try and attack, it says you are out of usable moves, the wild Pokemon will go, and it just starts the whiteout sequence. But this can get more freaky. If you go back to the step where you deposit the healthy Pokemon and instead switch it out for an egg, leaving the 2 dead Pokemon and the egg in your party, you will now throw out this creepy looking version of the Pokemon that's supposed to be inside of the egg. As you might be able to see here, I added Torchic in the egg, but the sprite is not colored correctly. You can use whatever moves it would have right now inside of the egg, and even attack. But then for some reason, after earning XP and even leveling up, it starts the whiteout sequence again. I can't think of a single instance where you could possibly win a battle and then run out of usable Pokemon after leveling up, so not sure why this would even happen. But anyway, let's get back to Decamark. While you can't really attack, you can do so much more. When in battle, view your Pokemon and check the summary of the Pomegged Pokemon. Then click B twice to go back to the menu. Now, if you just keep pressing up, you'll notice and hear you're allowed to keep pressing the button. We have now unlocked one of the most broken states in Pokemon, known as Glitzer popping, and in short, means we can execute code and do just about anything we want. Just as a lame example, I pressed up for a while, then A to bring up the option to view a summary of a Pokemon that wasn't on screen. Then the game froze on this darkened screen as I tried to load the summary of a Pokemon that didn't exist. While this was a very tame example, this isn't even scratching the surface. Just to list off a few highlights, you can directly alter the Pokemon in your PC boxes and daycare, change trainer battles to be treated as wild Pokemon battles, allowing you to either catch the trainer's Pokemon or run away, hatching any Pokemon you want out of an egg, and of course just corrupting the game completely. I could literally talk about this for hours, but I don't want the video to be insanely long. I just wanted to show you how to set up this crazy glitch and some of the outcomes you can get out of it. If you want to learn more about this glitch, I highly encourage you to check out this video by Papa Hefe, who made a super in-depth guide on how to set up these glitched Pokemon and some other funny things that can happen. So there were a bunch of crazy and unique glitches in the Pokemon Gen 3 games, Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald. I'm hoping there were some ones in here that you guys haven't seen before, even you experienced veterans, but I had a lot of fun going back to these amazing games. I'll probably continue the streak of slowly chipping away at all glitches in every game in the Pokemon series. Going to take a while, but I would love to put out some crazy long 10-hour compilation video of all the generations. So let me know if there's any specific game you'd like to see next. But for now, I'm gonna get out of here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, see ya!